All right, so here we got a football coach at practice. He's got 3 quarterbacks, 6 wide receivers, 7 defensive linemen, and a kicker that are at practice today. Assistant coach runs in and says, somebody got hurt. And he's going, what is the probability that it's one of my quarterbacks? 3 out of what? 17. Yeah. Because there's 3 quarterbacks out of 17 options. I mean, the pure math on this is probably a little different because the odds of people getting hurt are different based on different things they're doing, but whatever. We're going for simple here. Oh, my keys are stabbing me in the back end. There we go. All right. So now we're looking at this table down here, and we're wanting the probability that someone picks pizza if I know they have water. So this is when we use our crossing out, or you have Post-it notes or whatever. I know they didn't get no drink. I know they didn't get soda. I know they had water. I saw them get water. What is the probability they pick pizza?
50 out of 140. 58 out of 140.
58 out of 140. That is not a pen. 58 out of 140. Whenever we have the ones with the line, you're going to find yourself a way to block stuff off. So then we're asked for what's the probability that out of humans, they had no drink and a hot dog?
46 out of 400.
46 out of 400. So all of these things are going to come back repeatedly between now and the chapter test next week. Because a week from today is the test. A week from today. We only have 2 more days of notes. Today, tomorrow, Monday. Okay, we are going to be in our notes as soon as the AP announcement's done.
Good morning. This morning we have 2 AP exams. AP Human Geography needs to report to the main gym at this time. AP Human Geography needs to report to the main gym at this time. AP Macroeconomics will report to room C106. AP Macroeconomics will report to C106. This afternoon exam is AP Statistics, and they need to be in the main gym at 11:30. Thank you.
Ooh, these desks today. All right. So we're going to be starting by filling in these lines with our vocab for today. So these are things that you've probably heard of, at least 3 of these words: a population, a sample, and a statistic. Those 3 you've probably heard of. We've got one new one, parameter. But we're just going to kind of define everything, because everything we're going to talk about today is like all this data that we've looked at, how they get it, where they're pulling this information from, and if we can tell if it's good information or if it's bad information. So our population, let me fix this so I can zoom in. Our population is the group and we usually say of objects, but it also can be of people. About which information is desired. It's who I want to know about. Americans, Pike High School students, people in Algebra 2. The group I want to know about. There's a little line here. Our sample is a subset from within the population. What it is a practical, if I actually say it right, a practical group to collect data from. Practical to collect data. You will often hear, and especially as they're starting to talk election stuff again, Americans think. All of Indiana has the opinion. Well, I didn't get asked the question. I don't think you guys got asked the question. It's what they're doing to get that information about our population is they take a sample. It's a small group that they use to collect the data. I'm going to pop down to statistics for a second, and then we'll come up to parameter. The statistic is the numerical, usually, data we collect about the sample. These are the numbers. This is pure data. This is calculated. This is the information we have. This is our two-way table. These are the Venn diagrams we have. Those are the statistics. That's our data. From that, we get our parameter. The parameter is the numerical description or the numerical data about the population. This is extrapolated, which means that is fancy schmancy math and science talk for it's a big old fat guess. It's usually an educated guess, and oftentimes it's really close to right, but it's a guess. We are guessing. If we do our science well, it's really close. It's practically accurate, but it's a guess. Because unless I ask every single member of the population, I do not have the true data for the population. I have enough that I can try and make a guess. But it's all about finding out if I have good data. And there's this little picture up here where it kind of talks about that, where we have our whole big population, because we'll hear it a lot at election time when they talk about Americans think. Americans think Coke is better than Pepsi. Americans think Burger King's better than McDonald's. American thinks this about this politician. Well, they're not going to ask all of America, because it would physically take way too dang long to ask every American about every politician, about every restaurant, about every soda. Like, all we would do would take surveys. Like, all we would do. So they take a sample, a random sample from within our population, and they do our data on this. Because it's easier, and it will not take an eternity. Okay? So what we're going to be looking at today is we're going to identify populations and samples, parameters and statistics, and then we're going to say if the sample, the subset, is representative of the population. So is the small group a representation of the big group? Is that a good little view? Or did we break our population into little clubs? Okay, so that's what it talks about with bias. This one is already written down for you. It's the bias is when the sample does not represent the full group. So they have an example right here of a biased sample. You want to know what Americans think about presidential candidates. All Americans. You are doing a poll to go on the news. So you ask 50 kids at Pike High School. Are you a representative of all of America? No. That gives me an idea of what urban high schoolers in Indiana think. But not everybody in America. You do not represent farmers in Minnesota or people who live in New York. Things like that, okay? So this is biased because it's not people who live on the coast. It's not people who live in urban area or in rural areas. We need people of all ages, races, and different living situations from across the country to represent all of America. Pike High School, while very representative of a lot of things, only has people under 18. Maybe 18 at the tops. Okay? So it's not a good representative of all ages in America even. Not even all ages in central Indiana. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these stories here. And we are going to identify the population, the sample, the parameter, and the statistic. So we have here, Pike administrators want to know what the students think the Pike mascot should be. They have all English teachers throughout the school ask their students. So what is the population we want to know about? Students. Pike High School students. What is the sample that they take? Not the mascot. It's what is the small group? What's the little group that they looked at? English students. Yeah, it's the students of these English teachers. What is the parameter? What is it we want to know? This is who we want to know about, and this is what we want to know. What do you think about the mascot? Of all students. This one starts to feel a little weird here. Pike wants to know what the Pike mascot should be. So I'm going to give you the statistic on this because we've run out of options for things to name. The statistic that we get is these guys, English students. Mascot ideas. There's too many commas in that M. So we get information about our sample. It's ideally the same kind of thing. So we wanted to know about the mascot from everybody. We found out about what they want for mascots. Then the question is this bias? Is this good or is this a bad way to take the data at the high school? So I've heard both good and bad. Why good? Because they're asking a lot of people. Yep. Why bad? So when we're taking a sample, we are only going to ask a small group of people. We physically cannot ask everybody in the high school everything. How many people take English classes? Everybody takes English classes. So that's why a lot of times you'll get the, like when you're voting for prom court or class president or any of those things, you almost always get those in English class. Because English class, everybody takes every year. They're never going to send out those kind of surveys in math class. They're never going to send out those kind of surveys in history class because not everybody takes those every year. So this is not biased. English class is probably the best location where they can take samples of things because everybody takes English. Now, if they said they were only asking freshman English classes, then we'd have a problem because that's not representative of the whole school. If they were only asking senior English classes, then we'd have a problem because it's not representative of the whole school. But since they're asking all the English teachers, that one works because everybody takes English. So they're actually almost taking the whole population. Unless they only do some English teachers and they didn't say anything. So for a lot of times, bias is going to be a scale. It's not always going to be black and white. Yes, it's biased. No, it's unbiased. There's going to be a lot of why. What makes you think that? If you have a defense for your position on that, you're probably all right. Because bias is a matter of opinion. So we're going to look at number 2 on here. We've got that NBC TV channel wants to know what Americans think about their new TV show, Real Math Teachers of Indianapolis. Because this was written back in the days of the Real Housewives TV shows. That's how old this question is. They have like a call center, call out and do surveys over the phone. The surveys call people's house phones during the hours of 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So, around noon. What is the population we want to know about? Americans. We want to know what everybody in America thinks. What is the actual sample they take? People with house phones. And who are home at lunchtime. They're home between 11 and noon and 1. That is firmly during the 5th period. So people that are home during 5th period. Sorry, my cold is like super crazy. I managed to get all the way to May before I caught a cold this year. All the way to May. I almost made it. 14 days to the end, and I got my first sinus infection, of course. All right, so the sample is people with house phones. Landlines. Home at lunch. What is our parameter? What do we want to know about our population? Yeah, their opinions on the TV show. What do we actually get? What's the actual data we get? What these guys think about the show? Is this biased? Yes. Why? Not everybody's got house phones. And they're not calling the time the show runs. If they were calling at whatever time the show runs, they're calling at 8 o'clock, maybe we could get away with that. Maybe. The landline thing's still a problem. But they're calling in the middle of the day for a primetime TV show. Primetime TV shows are the ones that come after the news in the evening, like when Friends goes. So yes, this is biased because pretty much what they're going to get is retirees. Because those are the only people I know with landlines. Like house phones. My mom's got a house phone. But you got to get to my mom's generation for people who have house phones. Okay, so there are going to be some that are pretty obvious. I don't know of an argument that you could make on this one that's not biased. There's a lot of times I can find both sides, but this one's pretty clearly, yeah, that's biased. It's not going to be representative of young people who are in school or people who are working, not from home, and all that jazz. So let's do another one. We've got prom committee wants to know the theme that students want for prom. To find this out, they ask their friends. So what is our population? Who do we want to know about? Students. I want to know about all students. I'm going to put the word all students. Let's know the theme students want. What is the population they take, or the sample they take? Their friends. What is the parameter we want? The prom theme, yeah? Prom theme. That all students want. What's the information we get? What's our statistic? What their friends want. Is this biased?
Yes.
Why? Because they're not friends with everybody. Very few people have friends in every representative things. The seniors aren't going to be necessarily friends with freshmen. Not that the freshmen need to have an opinion on prom, but they're part of the population. You're not going to have friends that are in all the different social circles. If we think to movies, it's not. You're going to have friends in all the cliques. Nobody has that kind of friends. Also, humans in general are really terrible at picking random samples. We're really bad at actual randomness. It's not representative of all students. Okay, let's do one more of these. I want to know, so this math teacher wants to know if my students understood systems of equations, which was a chapter that we did last semester. So I hand out a survey to all of my students present on Friday. What is the population that I want to know about? My students. So I'm not looking at the whole school. I'm just looking at my kiddos. My little babies. What is the sample I take? Yeah, the people that were here Friday. What is the parameter I want? Or that I have? Yeah, their understanding on systems. Of all on systems. I'm just gonna call it systems. What do I get? Yep. We get the understanding of the sample on systems. Is this biased or not biased?
Yes, it is.
Why?
So everybody's gonna be there on Friday.
Not everybody's gonna be there on Friday. Other opinions?
It could be biased. I mean, it could be not biased
Mhm.
because it's majority of the class.
Yeah, a lot of people are here a lot of days. Friday, it's not like you said this is like skip day. Okay, so this is one of those ones. I could see arguments in both directions. As long as we answer the why question, and you give me some sort of logical argument like it's not representative of everybody because not everybody's there, or that most people are going to be there because it's not a special day, I would take both. The ones that were like super duper clear, like the home phone in the middle of the day for the evening time show, those ones are very clearly biased. But there's a lot of times where they're a lot more nuanced. And it's an opinion, and as long as you tell me why, we'll be all right. Okay? Because honestly, my opinion on this is that this is all right. Because I'm looking for my students, I asked my students, I took a sample of my students, even if we weren't here on Friday for whatever reason, I still think it's an okay sample. Okay? As long as I'm not kind of tilting the deck in one thing. If I asked on skip day, then maybe it's the people who didn't care as much that weren't here. I'm not saying you don't care if you're not here on skip day. But, or if it was the day that the choir concert, everybody has to go out. So I'm not asking any of the choir kids. Or I'm not asking any of the people that go on field trips, and there was like 4 field trips that day. So if there was other extenuating circumstances, it could be biased. But as it reads, I'm okay with this one. This one feels okay to me. Okay, so there's a couple more on there where you can kind of think about where you would pull data more as like, we don't really necessarily need to focus on that. I'm going to just say, let's just focus on the homework assignment. Homework 5 is today, tomorrow, and Monday. So there are a couple questions in there on bias and finding your sample, finding your statistic, naming what they are. But homework 5 is the last homework of the semester, and it is today, tomorrow, and Monday. So you will have things on there that you do not recognize, and that's okay. Okay? Chapter test is a week from today. You have 10 minutes until the announcements start. May the 4th be with you. Because it's May 4th. Star Wars news. Go hard. Oh, I should put my Millennium Falcon pin back on. Okay, so let me know if you guys have questions on stuff, work on stuff, get stuff turned in, please. All that jazz.